Hey there, holiday artist, here you have another installment from Holiday Display Tips.
Welcome back to Holiday Display Tips. Tonight we're going to be speaking about pathway and driveway lighting. I divide this topic into 3 different types. Number 1 is putting general inflatables and other large decorations along the driveway, but that's more of an involved topic that we'll go into later in other videos. So we're just going to speak about the other 2 different types, which I would divide into. One would be the 2 to 3.5 foot tall candy canes that sit on stakes along the driveway, and the other being shorter novelty decorations. Commonality between the 2 is that they're all on stakes. I'm going to review the 3 types of candy canes that I've experienced with first. All the candy canes in this type are all similar in and of themselves. They're all lined with clear white and red plastic that is filled with mini white lights and then held up by a stake at the end. I never had a problem with the lights themselves, and I've used them for non-pathway and driveway applications, but I would argue that these are not useful in any area that has any amount of wind and or snow. Up first is the annual favorite from Canadian Tire. I must admit that I do begrudgingly prefer the stake for this one the best of the 3 types that I've tried. However, the big issues is that if the ground is even remotely solid when you're trying to put these in, its tip snaps like it's made out of porcelain. Once up, however, I find that it's the least likely to end up breaking in the wind. The problem being that it is so short and narrow that the candy canes themselves can end up pulling off in the wind and flopping over. And if you're not right on top of getting these back on the stakes, any little bit of snow or ice that gets on the stakes and hardens in place will make it impossible to get them back in. And then you're stuck until things thaw out. Up next, I went for these guys. Much more solid looking stake. Won't have the same problems. You just wedge it right in there, and this is definitely not going to fall off. As you can see, the broken tip here definitely will not fall off. And up third is this guy. His stake was so solid that I just loved it. Didn't even have something to insert it into. It was just an empty hole with a big thick stake that you put in, and then had a little perforated edge that would show you exactly how far to put it in before you start breaking the candy cane. However, that perforated edge just ended up as a marker for where the wind would end up snapping it. So this is now garbage. But on the plus side, they do come with these strings sticking out of the end of them, because I'm sure they know they will not end up being used for very long in the driveway. Over to the smaller novelty decorations. They come in a range. You can see lots of different examples. They can come in 4-inch candy canes, these 4.5-inch stakes that hold up C9 lights. They come in snowflakes. They come in all sorts of different things. But ultimately, their commonality is that they're usually about 4 inches tall. So while that does defeat the issue of wind, because generally any wind is not really going to be that strong, that low to the ground, any amount of snow will cover them up and render them completely useless. These stakes for the C9 lights do come in a form that is 15 inches tall, so you have a much better chance of being able to rise above the snow. It all depends on how bad the snow is in your area. So that may be a possibility for you, but not for me. This year, I'm going to be going with these larger novelty lights. I recognize that they aren't really any taller than the C9 lights that are sitting on 15-inch stakes, but I'm hoping that with how large they are, that even if they do get a lot of snow on them, the light will still give some sort of decorative effect. Anyone want to bring up ideas they've had luck with? Please comment below. See you next time there, holiday artists.
That's all for this installment. We look forward to seeing you next time, holiday.